Hi everyone, welcome to THT, and today we are going to talk about Legend of the Force spoilers part 1. So this is one of my first impression video, and this is going to be the first one for the set 5, and I'm extremely excited for this new set as I am for every set of Star Wars Limited. And but before we start this video, I just wanted to let you know that this video is sponsored by Card Market, the biggest marketplace in Europe to buy and sell cards. So if you're not familiar with the way I do this first impression video, I rate the card in 4 different categories. The first one is not excited for a card that I think is either bad or very niche, basically a card that has very low chance of seeing competitive play. The other rating is not sure for a card that has potential, but obviously is extremely dependent on the rest of the set or the meta to see if it's any good. Then we have the card that I am quite confident are likely to see competitive play, and finally the card that are amazing, which are basically cards that are guaranteed to see competitive play and will have a significant impact on the meta, either because they are going to be included in a wide variety of different decks, or because they are so impactful in a few decks they get played that they will have an impact on like a strong impact on those decks. So obviously those first impression videos are very much first impression. I haven't played with any of those cards. Obviously it's also talking about the card as they come out, which means that we don't have the full context of the set. And especially early on, since it's the first episode of this new series about Legend of the Force, obviously there's going to be we're missing a lot of context that makes us understand if those cards work or not. So take everything I say in this video with a grain of salt. It is just here to kind of enjoy the new card and try to talk about them and think about how they're going to perform in a competitive environment for the future. I'm always talking on the context of premier constructed play. But first of all, let's talk about the fourth mechanic, which is the new mechanic that is going to be introduced by Legend of the Force. The way that works is, right now, there's only one primary way to gain the fourth, which is basically attacking with a unit with the Force trait. Right now we have 2 bases that can provide that, the Jedi Temple and the Shadow Undercity. Those places are not 28 bases, so you are basically losing 2 HP in order to be able to gain that ability. And the fourth by itself doesn't do anything. It's just basically a token that you get, which is kind of interesting. So the thought on this is that the synergies, I'm assuming there are going to be 2 more bases for the yellow and the yellow and the red aspect. I don't see any reason why, and maybe they're gonna have different ways of getting the Force, but since those 2 have the exact same ability, I would also assume that the yellow and red base will also have the exact same trigger condition, which is attacking with a friendly 4th unit. So far, basically, the 4 synergies in Star Wars Limited were basically just the idea that a card that requires a 4th unit to be in play, so the most famous example is obviously Force Throw. You get a 4th unit in play, you can play Force Throw, you discard a card. Basically, even the card could even be played without a Force unit. It just has an additional effect whenever you got a Force unit in play. So you play Force Throw, discards, deal damage to the cost of the discarded card. And I think that this mechanic has been working very well. It was not overpowered. Actually, and has sprung a wide variety of different decks. So talk about Quinlan, of course, but also other Force deck. Basically, the entire. So this time around, they're gonna make Force Force synergies a much more of a wider part of the entire set. But there's a lot more loop and credits to basically be able to use the Force in this very particular in this set, because not only do you need a Force unit in play, you also need to attack with it. And you're also gonna need to get that token, and then the token can be spent. So you have to collect it again to be able to use it again and stuff. So this is gonna make it a lot more complicated compared to before, to use before. So I'm assuming that Force synergies should be more powerful to make up for the fact that you have to work more for them. And it also means that a card which require the Force, like card like Force Throw or even card like Force Lightning, are going to become even more powerful, because there are going to be just so many force units all over the place, and I'm assuming some of them should be very strong. So we'll see how it goes. It's definitely going to be interesting. I'm a little bit scared that this whole shebang of having to attack with a force unit is going to be a little bit too much work for constructed play. I hope to be wrong, because this is once again a core mechanic of the set, but unfortunately it's not the first time that we see a core mechanic of a set not being competitive at all. We saw this with Exploit, for example, or even with Coordinate in set 3, so I really hope that they're not going to screw up again on that regard and make sure that the core mechanic of the set is going to have some relevance in competitive Premier play. But obviously nothing is guaranteed on that front, and it's going to come down to the kind of support that this whole archetype is. But on face value, I would say that as a first impression, I would say that this mechanic looks relatively weak, because it does require you to it has a huge deck building constraint of having to put a lot of force units in your deck, and it also does force units to come into play and be able to attack. So that's something to keep in mind. So the first leader that has been sold to us is obviously one of the two leaders from the starter set. The first one is Qui-gon Jinn, a fan favorite character, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. Unfortunately, I don't think this leader is very good in any way. First of all, his ability is, just so you know, I don't read the cards, I just assume everybody knows the card, and if you don't know, you want to read the card, just you can pause the video and read the card by yourself. Otherwise, those videos just are too long. Anyway, going back to his abilities, the problem with Qui-gon Jinn is multiple. First of all, his ability is basically the idea of bouncing a non-leader card back into your hand, your own units, it has to be a friendly unit, and then play a non-villainy card that costs less than the card that you return to your hand. So basically you are effectively losing resources. So even the best case scenario in which you bounce a card that costs 5 and you put a card that costs 4, so it's only a 1 resource difference, you're still losing a resource by doing that. So you're basically sort of removing ball presence, and you also have to spend the force to use that. You have to lose the force token, so you need to have gained the force to be able to gain that ability. So the effect is, obviously it's nice because obviously there's like when played effect, you get to trigger when play effect by basically doing that. You get to trigger when play effect for free effectively using that ability, but the amount of effort that you have to go through in order to make that happen is massive, because you need to have, obviously you need to have a unit in play, you need to have the force, you need to have another unit in play in your hand that you're willing to put in play instead of that unit and have an interesting effect out of this card. It's just way too much conditions for this to be realistically playable in a constructed deck, at least in a competitive deck. So I cannot imagine a scenario where this could be good. So obviously there's going to be some situation where this is strong, but from a reliably speaking, I don't see a world where this could be competitive. The other major issue of this leader is obviously the fact that it deploys on 6. So deploying on 6 by itself is not a problem. It's just that for some reason, FFG consistently understats the 6 leader resource. So basically, what we consider to be a competitive leader that deploys on 5 usually would have 7 stats. So usually a 2/5 is what we would consider 7 stat for a 4 cost leader. Sorry. If you're going for a 5 cost leader, then usually you would expect about 10 stats. So a 4/6 or 3/7s are what we consider to be competitive. So that's 10 stats. So you see 4 cost, 7 stats. You jump at 5 cost, you got 10 stats. So there's you got 3 more stats for a 1 more resources drop. And for some reason, FFG seems to consider that 11 stats is the standard for a 6 cost leader. But if you pay attention, 11 stat is only 1 more stats compared to a 5 cost leader, which means that whenever you go from 5 to 6, you are only getting 1 more stats for an extra cost, which is not worth it. You would much rather have 1 less stats and deploy 1 turn earlier. So basically, in my opinion, every 6 cost leader should have at least 1 or 2 more stats than what they currently have to be competitive. And if you pay attention to what are the most one of the most popular 6-cost leaders in the game right now. You're talking about Cad Bane and you're talking about Anakin. And what are those two leaders have in common? Well, they have a lot of stats. If you talk about Anakin comes out often on average as a 6-7, which is basically 13 stats, which is basically 3 more stats than what you have when it deploys on 6. And obviously it grows bigger and stuff, but that's part of his ability. Same if you look at Cad Bane. Cad Bane has 12 stats. 12 stat is 2 more stats. I mean, Raid 2 is sort of it's not a, you could see either way, but he's also 8 health. So yeah, Cad Bane is basically sort of 12 stats. And that's, so obviously they also have very good abilities, but I just wanted to say that generally speaking, 6-cost leaders are undercosted, understats, and that's the reason they don't see play. I don't think being a 6-cost leader by itself is a big problem. It just needs to have the stats to make up for it, and most leaders don't. And I think this is a thing that that FFG needs to realize, and they need to kind of like understand that, because it's like, once again, there's nothing that prevents 6-cost leader from seeing play. It's just they just are consistently understat for no reason. So that's a bit weird. Anyway, so bad ability and extremely conditional ability that is not even that powerful. Generally speaking, in Star Wars Limited, trading value for trading tempo for value is not worth it. So whenever you are bouncing your own unit and putting a cheaper unit in play, you are losing ball presence, you are losing tempo, you are losing resources on the ball basically. And what is supposed to make up for that is what you get from the when play effect. So you are trading tempo for value. Usually speaking, Star Wars Limited is you want the opposite. You want to trade value for tempo, and that's the reason why Han is so powerful, is because he trades value, he trades cards for tempo, which is additional resources to play more expensive stuff. Anyway, with all that being said, so bad ability and bad stats, you understood. I'm not excited about Qui-gon Jinn. I don't think he's a good card. I don't think he's a good leader at all. I'll be very surprised if it's very competitive. I just gonna mention very quick that there's a nice combo that you can do with exploits. You can exploit massive units, and then bounce them back into your hand and then play something massive. But this is obviously, once again, extremely complicated to set up. Exploit units are not that powerful, and on top of this, it doesn't work with villainy units. So there's also a big limitation with that. So not a big fan of it. This also allows you to play card out of aspect, but once again, I don't think this is going to be enough to make Qui-gon Jinn. I think the only way Qui-gon Jinn is going to see play is if there's some sort of really crazy combo that works out with him. But I see that FFG has actively tried to avoid combo and stuff. So once again, in a combo deck, everything is potentially playable, but once again, as face value, just playing him normally as it was intended to be played, I don't see this being competitive. Moving on, we got Darth Maul, which is a far less interesting leader. It's yet another leader that pings, which is something we have a lot in Star Wars Unlimited, and this is another thing that FFG needs to understand, is that Tarkin Town is not that strong of a base. Actually, whenever set 1 release, Tarkin Town was barely played, and the reason why Tarkin Town ended up seeing so much play is because FFG keeps printing those insanely good ping leaders like Quinlan and Cad Bane is a good example, but there's others, and there's just a lot of ping leaders in Star Wars Unlimited. Thankfully, though, this one is not very good. It basically, once again, you have to use the Force to use it, so you need to have a unit that attacked. Maybe there's going to be other ways to get the Force very easily. And then the ability is, it's fine, you get like a double ping. Very good if your opponent opens up with double 1-drop opening, but what are the odds that you're going to have the Force on turn 1? Pretty unlikely, I would say. So, it's very situational. Once again, it deploys on 6. Once again, it has 11 stats for 6, which is not good. It's just 5-6, which I would say is even worse than 4-7 most of the time. It's not a very good leader. I don't see any reason to be playing this leader over other options. And the fact that okay, it's good with Talking Town, but then playing Talking Town forces you to play double red, which is not a very good color right now. I think this is unlikely to see play. Okay, so now that I've shredded apart the two leaders, let's try to take a look at the other cards, which in my opinion are a lot better. First of all, we got Refugee of the Path. So this card basically gives a shield to his sentinels when played. Once again, it's one of those when play, you're supposed to kind of like loop things around with Qui-gon and get your a card back into your hand and play it and do some sort of like when play shenanigans and stuff, which I think has zero chance of being a competitive archetype, but that's what they're going for. But outside of this archetype, how good is this card? Well, first of all, it's the first one cost force unit, and there's another one, there's the Jedi that gets stronger with, but this one is a bit stickier because it's not a 1/1, it's a 0/3, so that makes it a lot easier to play. That means you can play it on turn 1, and yeah, so it's and then you can play 4th on the same turn, and I'm assuming there's going to be other 4th payoff, and the fact that it's a 0/3 means that your opponent is unlikely to spend time killing it, which means that you can just attack with it to get the force. To get the 4th, which is nice. Giving a shield to a sentinel is very niche because you need to have a sentinel in play for this to work, but to be fair, giving shield to sentinels is a very powerful ability, so if you have like a ton and tons of sentinels in your deck, I think this could be quite good. So it's very niche, so I don't know if it's going to see play, but in my opinion, on paper, there's enough argument for this to see some play, in my opinion. You play a deck that has loads of sentinels and actually uses the force. I think this could be pretty good. Then we got Anakin Skywalker. He's kind of useless, 1/1 for 1 shielded, but very difficult to kill, hidden and shielded. He's once again here to kind of attack and give you the 4th, I guess, and enables force synergies is another 1-drop for force synergies. So I don't think it's very good. I would rather have, honestly, I would rather just play the Refugee of the Path instead, because at least it does something when it comes into play, and once again, being a 1-drop with 3 health means it's a very low priority target. Maybe there's like you are a deck where you absolutely need the force and stuff, and you absolutely want to have something that really will survive anything, and then you want Anakin, but yeah, I think that's unlikely. So I'm just gonna give him, maybe I should give it a maybe, but I'm not excited about this card. Also, the fact that it's cunning heroism means it's going to be limited in which kind of deck you kind of want to play. Keep in mind that if you really want to have like a turn 1 play that enables 4th and is very hard to kill, you can just play Grogu. Grogu has 5 health, it's like so hard to take out, and unless Grogu has a useful ability, so I don't know. We'll see. And I can really hardly imagine a world where you would want to play that card. Then we got Qui-gon Jinn, Archer Sprite. So this is poorly statted, 3/6 for 5, no immediate impact on the game, and the on-attack ability requires you to have play a when-play card after. So it's a fun, cool card. Being able to trigger when-play ability multiple times is very fun, but there's just so many string attached, so many conditions. It's very slow. It's under stats. So yeah, I don't think it's a good card. I think it's unlikely to see play. Unless there's like some sort of insane combo with it. Once again, I'm always on the reserve of combo can happen and can be quite wild. Then we got Stinger Mantis. Stinger Mantis is once again sort of another 5-drop in space to 4/6 for 5. You can deal 2 damage to an exhausted unit. The one play is not amazing. The stats are not amazing. There's nothing interesting about this card, and it's I don't think it's particularly good. Then we got Darth Sidious. So Darth Sidious is one of those massive 8-drop, a card that you would think you would be a legendary, but it's a starter card. So well, first of all, it has immediate impact on the game and kill all units with 3 or less remaining HP, which can be quite strong, especially if you combine it with a Snoke or if you combine it with a Palpatine. The fact that it costs 8 is a little bit awkward, because then in those kind of like control decks, you already have so many 8 drops between, once again, Palpatine and if you're playing red or Snoke. So that's going to be hard to find space for Darth Sidious. But what I like about him is like he's a lot more difficult to get off the board because he has 8 health, And he also has a restore 2, which is very, very valuable for control deck, having a big unit like this that is hard to kill and has restore 2. So immediate impact on the game, difficult to get rid of, hit like a truck, and does restore you. That's basically, that's really strong. Obviously the wind playability is quite conditional, and you need to have the force, which is obviously the big problem with this card. So I would say it's gonna depend. I don't say this card is gonna see play or not. It's gonna come down a lot to how easy is it for control deck to have the fourth. If it's very easy for the control deck to have the fourth, then I can see this card being an additional option. I would have loved this card to be a 7-drop instead of 8-drop, because right now control decks really struggle to have very good 7-drops. So I would have loved to see, maybe with obviously weaker stats, to have it at 7 cost, but at 8 cost it's just gonna be hard to find space for it. But once again, if you have an easy way to get the fourth, then it could be an interesting option. Then talking about card that gives you the force, Drain Essence is going to be the first card that can give you the force, other than just using your base. Deal 2 damage to a unit, and then you gain the fourth is with you. Obviously dealing 2 damage for 2 is pretty mediocre, but once again, if you have a deck that really benefits from having the force, then I think the card could be worth it. I would have been more excited about this card if it costed 1, be some sort of like daring raid or something. But yeah, so it's a maybe. It's really gonna come down. You obviously need to really want a deck that really wants to force to justify playing a card like this. Then we got Darth Maul Lightsaber. So Darth Maul Lightsaber is really, really cool. Outside of, if you don't play on Darth Maul, it's not amazing. +4, +2 for 3 is kind of meh. And really the fact that it works specifically only with Darth Maul makes the card extremely narrow. Keep in mind that this is specifically Darth Maul, so it doesn't work on Maul. You can just not play this card on Maul. The 7-drop, you have to play it specifically on the leader, or on the 5-cost, 5/6 Darth Maul. Seeking Revenge, I think is the name of his name. And then on the Darth Maul leader, it's a bit meh. But it's very, very good on the Darth Maul, the units, because this unit can attack 2 units at once, and then getting overwhelmed mean that if there's 2 units on the opposing side, you get to attack for 9 twice, and all the extra damage will go to the base, so that's pretty nasty. And the fact that you're giving a +2 health means that he's more likely to survive the attack as well, which is great. So obviously this is cool, but this is very, very, very niche. It needs to be specifically on Darth Maul. I'm expecting to see more Darth Maul in the set, hopefully like a cheaper one, and maybe this card could be good in this, but yeah, it's very, very specialized. So I'm gonna say a maybe. Once again, maybe as like a one-of if you're playing like a Darth Maul unit and stuff, but obviously it can be played on any unit, 4+4+2, which can be useful. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty fun, but I don't think it's going to be very competitive. We'll see. Then we got the Scimitar, and the Scimitar is just a 3/4/4 that gets +3 attack when it gets damage. That's not very good. 3/4+4 is awful. Right now we have, on a regular basis, we have 3/4 for 3 vehicles available in those colors, and they get an ability on top of that. In this case, we cost 1 more. And when he gets damage +3 attack, but 4 health is not difficult to kill in one shot, which means that you're very rarely going to get a +3 bonus ability. Obviously, there's ways you can self-damage in this game, but then you end up with a 6/3 for 4, which is not really that good, to be fair. So it's just not a very good card. Then we got Savage Opress, a very unique card. It's a 9/6 Overwhelm, so extremely good with energy conversion lamp can ambush to kill something, or even kill something very small and deal 1,000,000 damage to the base. So that's very exciting. The problem is, whenever it gets played, if you don't have the force, you have to deal 9 damage to your own base. So you have to use the force to play him, and you also have to use the force to him defeat it. So that's really awkward, because then it means that, let's say you don't have the force, you play him, you ambush something, you kill something, and then because he ambushed something, he took some damage, and he only has 6 health, most likely your opponent is going to be able to kill him on the way back, which means you're almost guaranteed to basically lose 9 damage to your base, deal 9 damage to your base, which is very, very awkward. So I think the card is very awkward. The fact that the 9 damage to your base works on both when play and when defeated makes the card really, really too risky, and also the fact that it requires you to use with ECL. This card is absolutely unplayable. If you want to play this just for 6, it's unplayable because there's so many ways people can kill a unit with that's only 6 health. Really, the only way you can play this card is with ECL, and even with ECL, you are very likely going to get hit by his ability and take a bunch of damage. So it's just not a good card in my opinion. Before we get into the rest of the video, I just wanted to say to you that you can pick up General's Blade on the card market for only 40 cents. I'm anticipating General's Blade to become a lot more powerful with the set. It's already a good card in my opinion, and it's only going to get better with a new set. So if you don't have a playset of those, I really highly encourage you to pick up a playset. So then we got Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Obi-Wan Kenobi is, I mean, you don't need to be an expert in Star Wars Limited to understand that this card is amazing. It's a 3/5 for 3, first of all. Is the only 3/5 for 3 available in those specific colors. We got 3/5 for 3 in mono black. So all villainies have access to a 3/5 for 3 like base. And then we have access to black yellow. Then you have 3/5 for 3 in yellow white. The DJ obviously got banned, so this one is out of the way. And then we got a 3/5 for 3 in red white. This is the first, if you're playing green white, this is the first 3/5 you get access to ever. So that's by itself is a big deal. Even if you ignore completely the deck box, the trait and the text box, the 3/5 for 3 really right out of the start, you know it's going to get played. But this card has a much more than that. First of all, it has it is a 4th Jedi Republic, so 3 relevant traits. Jedi is very important for General's Blade, which is the card we just talked about. So you'll be able to play this card and then play General's Blade on it, and then you can attack. You can make a 6/8 and then reduce the price of your units. It's a 4, so obviously it enables the force synergies, it enables the force basically, which is huge. And then it has Republic as well, so it's kind of nice to see finally a good Republic card. We don't have a lot of good Republic cards, but we have a couple of good cards that really benefit from Republic units. So we have, for example, the I think the tactician officer, I forgot his name, but basically it's basically kind of a it's a 1/4 that comes to play, and you can may attack with a Republic unit and give it a +2 attack, which would be very beneficial on Obi-Wan. And so really the traits really makes the card really next level good. And then finally we got the ability, which is extremely relevant because it comes to play, it gets sentinels when it comes into play, and then every time you're going to be playing a force unit, he's going to get sentinel as well. So it's really easy to give him sentinel. So 3/5 for 3 sentinels, in order to have that, a conditional 3/5 for 3, you need to be playing Royal Guard with Palpatine basically in order to get access to this, which is just crazy. And this guy obviously is force, he has loads of great traits. Obi-Wan is most likely going to be an auto include in, I wouldn't say maybe every single green white deck is going to play him, but the vast majority are going to play him. Like, it's so good. It's also great to reanimate from Home 1. It's one of the greatest. It's basically just like, it's better than Echo Base Defender. I mean, Echo Base Defender has permanent sentinel, which is valuable, but the stats are so much better on this guy. I cannot imagine where you would want to play Echo Base Defender over this most of the time. So it's just such a good card, and it's obviously an amazing card. It's, as I said, the fact that it's going to be auto-include in every single green-white deck by itself is enough to justify the amazing rating. Just something I want to say though is like, unfortunately, this might not be the best color right now. If you want to play a force deck with force energies, you either want to play red for 4/4 because 4/4 is the best payoff for playing force, and then the force enablers, the best ones are either in yellow or white, or blue. Sorry, so you want to play blue-red or yellow-red. Green is currently the worst possible color to play force synergies, as far as we know. So that's a little bit awkward, but I'm sure this set is going to correct that. I'm sure we're going to see plenty of force cards in every single color, and including commands. So I'm not too worried about this, but it's just something I wanted to point out. And finally, we got the Pog. So So the Pog is the first free unit in the entire game. So you don't have to spend any resource to have it. You just pay. You put it in play for 0, and as a 1/1. So it's obviously not impactful at all. But I think there's actually a few decks that can benefit from it. I think that the exploit decks can benefit from this because being able to basically play the Pog for 0 and then exploit it means that you get to basically reduce by 2 the cost of your exploit, which is kind of neat. We'll see exactly how many decks would want to play this. Obviously, it is card advantage to do that, but we know in Star Wars Limited card advantage is not that big of a deal. So I don't know what deck's going to be wanting to play this, but the fact that it's the only free units in the game, that has value by itself. There's a lot of combo values to it. I haven't researched exactly how many synergies there could be with this card, but as I said, this by itself does have value. So obviously it's going to be a maybe, but I think this card, something that I've always experienced from playing Magic for so many years is that free stuff is always, especially free units, you always can find a use for it, even though no matter how useless they are, just a free unit by itself, they're just simply just a lot of synergies with a lot of different abilities that can work. And for this, you need to keep your eye on those on the Pogs, and I'd be surprised if we never see those guys ever seen play in the future Star Wars Limited. It might not be right now, it might take a while, but I'll be surprised to see this card being completely irrelevant. Anyway, that was it for my first impression video for Legends of the Force. So it's going to be an exciting set if you like Jedis and stuff. A lot of people were speculating that Legends would be standing off for, they would try to fetch outside of the canon of Star Wars, but I don't think they're going to be ready to do this anytime soon. And it was obviously more than likely that it was just simply just about a lot of Force stuff. So it's going to be really, really exciting. And thank you so much for following this video, and I'll see you next time yeah, see you, bye bye.